What's been the biggest thing in Ireland is the sweetness of the people, I have to say.
You're not here as a visitor, you're here for the long haul, you're applying for citizenship. What made you up sticks from the States and join us?
Well, there's the President of the United States that has it out for me and has for 20 years when I told the truth about him on a program called The View, where it was my job to talk about pop culture, politics, and I mentioned his bankruptcies, and I mentioned all of the sexual assault charges, and I mentioned that he was not, in fact, the businessman that everyone thinks he is because of the show The Apprentice, where they sold a bunch of lies to America for over 10 years, and half of America believed it. And so he was very angry, to say the least.
Yes.
And he hasn't let it go, and he sort of uses me as a punchline whenever he feels.
So let's get this correct. So you left the United States because President Trump has it out for you. Like, how self-important do you need to be? How grandiose do you have to feel that President Trump is even spending one second of his day worrying about you? Sure, there was that Oval Office thing last week with the head of Ireland there. But that was because a reporter asked the question. He didn't bring it up. No one cares. No one cares about you. I love these people who are so navel-gazing, self-important that you think Trump cares about you because he makes a... And by the way, aren't you supposed to be a comedian? You can't handle a joke. So let's be clear. You go on air on The View and criticize him. And let's be clear about what you said. You said when someone has bankruptcies, then that clearly means you don't have business acumen. Well, that's just total garbage because a lot of successful business individuals have had bankruptcies because for whatever reason, whether it has because of like a partner dissolves a partnership and then files a lawsuit against the other partner, and then they have to dissolve it because of and they go through bankruptcy in order to deal with the lawsuit. Like, it has nothing to do with that. Okay.
Feels the need.
Well, you say he uses, you as a punchline. He was meeting the Taoiseach,
yes.
Micheál Martin, in the Oval Office last week. You're over here kind of minding your own business.
Yes.
And this happens.
By the way, she was not there minding her own business. She made a big stink about why she was moving to Ireland. And she posted all sorts of videos on social media about why she was moving there. And she specifically talked about the fascism and the dictator Donald Trump. So she wasn't there minding her own business at all, in fact.
Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people. Great attitude, many in this room right now that I've met. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
I love Trump's response, by the way. He's like, yeah, you're absolutely right about that question. Like, he just shakes his head like in agreement.
Thank you. I like that question. Do you know you have Rosie O'Donnell? Do you know who she is?
He doesn't even know who she is. Do you know that you have Rosie O'Donnell? He's like, I don't know who that is. I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. In my country, I don't know who this is.
Do you know who she is?
Yeah.
I'm joking. You're better off not knowing.
President Trump.
Yeah, there it is. There he is in all his glory.
How does it feel watching that?
Very, very surreal, I have to tell you. He's been doing it for 2 decades, and I'm still not used to it every time he does. But, I felt very troubled that they put the Taoiseach in that position and didn't treat him with the respect that a leader of that kind deserves when they're visiting the White House. And I wrote the...
So that was a reporter that asked the question. So how do you want questions submitted ahead of time, like Democrats like to do for Biden? So you submit questions ahead of time and censor them. Is that what you would like?
Taoiseach with a little note apology to his email and got a note back that they had received it and thanked me. But I just wanted him to know the history and what happened and why he seems to be out to get me in ways that are startling to most.
You stuck out the last...
He's out to get you. I got news for you. He's not out to get you. He doesn't care. In fact, he enjoys it. He enjoys the back and forth. And he's not, there's nothing that he didn't kick you out of the country. You chose to leave.
Trump presidency. What different about this one for you that made you realize you're out?
Well, right away was the problem with Project 2025, which the Heritage Foundation put out, and it detailed what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I felt that anyone who read that would not be able to sleep as an American.
What type of stuff was in that?
Well, gutting all of the social programs, as he has been doing. Just the other day, he...
What has he gutted? What social programs has he gutted? Like, he just was slashed the Department of Education and specifically made sure that in the Department of Education executive order that he signed, that Pell Grants and social programs that protected children that have, with special needs, et cetera, were protected.
Disbanded the Department of Education.
Oh, my God.
And I have a child who has autism, and that child will be denied services, and many...
That's a lie. Pell Grants, people with special needs, these programs to protect children, she's lying.
Funding for these programs for special needs children comes from the federal government as well.
He specifically, even in his press conference, said that these will be protected. She is lying.
As the states, and it's going to be disastrous for children on the spectrum. And that was terrifying. But the biggest reason that it was...
So it's going to be terrible for children on the spectrum. I don't know if you are aware, but how terrible it is right now in the Department of Education and our federal education for children on the spectrum. Okay, so great now, isn't it?
Different than the first time he was in office is because of the Supreme Court giving him ultimate power, the powers of a king or a monarch. And that's not what the United States is all about. And it's a terrifying prospect. And in fact, what has happened since he's taken office has been terrifying, I think, for the world and definitely for the United States of America.
Yeah, we're terrified. We're terrified. So what exactly has he done that's been terrifying? He's moved to secure the United States southern border. He's been expelling violent criminals, rounding up Tren de Aragua, illegal gangs, Mexican drug cartels in the United States. It's terrifying for the United States. It's absolutely terrifying. I'm terrified that rapists aren't able to just roll into my neighborhood at 3 a.m. I'm terrified. Really terrified.
A lot of people did vote for him.
Yes.
Do you accept their right to do that and their opinion of him?
Well, I respect their right to do that. I question why the first time in American history a president has won every swing state and is also best friends, and his largest donor was a man who owns and runs the internet. So I would hope that that would be investigated and that we would see whether or not it was an anomaly or something else that happened on election night in America when Kamala Harris was filling up stadiums with people who supported her, and Donald Trump was not able to do that. It's curious to me, and as an American and a believer in democracy, I would hope that we would be able to look at all of the reasons why this happened.
Okay, so you're questioning the election integrity. I see. So let me just be clear. Kamala Harris was able to fill up stadiums and Donald Trump was not? I'm just curious which stadiums you're talking about, because are you referring to the ones we covered here on the show where you had tens of thousands of angry people who went to, I think it was like a Kesha concert or Solange. I mean, who the hell knows? Beyonce was one of them. And they were promised basically a Beyonce concert. And we showed the videos here on the show. And then what they thought they were going to was a Beyonce concert. And then Kamala Harris shows up and then basically takes credit for the crowd. That's how they framed these things. They would put on an event paid for. They've spent millions of dollars to put these events on, to pay people like Beyonce to show up. She goes there, doesn't perform any songs at all, walks out on stage for like 10 seconds or like a minute and talks to the crowd and then leaves. And the crowd went apeshit. That's a little Carter's reference. You get that? Get that little Carter's reference there? The crowd was furious. So is that how you fill up stadiums? With the promise of Beyonce performing, and then she doesn't actually perform, and then Kamala Harris shows up and she's like, whoa, look at the giant crowd that's here for me. They're not here for you. They're here for Beyonce that didn't perform, that you lied to them about. So she's so full of crap to say that Donald Trump didn't have people at his... I'm going to go back on that. What, really?
Question why the first time in American history a president has won every swing state and is also best friends, and his largest donor was a man who owns and runs the internet.
And she's wondering how President Trump is the first person in American history to win all 7 swing states? She's a freaking idiot. Does she not realize that just a few short years ago, Ronald Reagan won all 7 swing states? There's many, many times presidents have won the swing states. Ronald Reagan did it in the 1980s during the 1984 election against Walter Mondale. I don't know what the hell she's talking about. She's literally lying through her teeth, her fake teeth, this entire time.
So I would hope that that would be investigated and that we would see whether or not it was an anomaly or something else that happened on a...
Yeah, was it an anomaly? And his friend who owns the internet, he owns one website, which was X, which, by the way, was the only website that was actually allowing people to publish information free of censorship. So she's upset that people were able to publish content on there free of censorship. And by the way, she publishes videos on X. So she's like so upset about X. Okay.
Election night in America when Kamala Harris was filling up stadiums with people who supported her. And Donald Trump was not able to do that. So it's curious to me. And as an American and a believer in democracy, I would hope that we would be able to look at all of the reasons why this happened in our country.
Yeah, why? We'll look at all the reasons why this happened in our country. How did a majority of Americans vote for someone who was president before, whose lives were better during his presidency, where taxes were low, where inflation was low, where gas prices were low, where egg prices were low, where housing prices were lower, where jobs were created, where the stock market was skyrocketing? I mean, overall, you could run down the numbers across the board. So we need to look at why, and now look at Biden and the last 4 years and the destruction of the United States of America under President Biden, and why we wouldn't vote for an incompetent person like Kamala Harris. I think we need to examine why. So she's really insinuating, of course, that the election was rigged somehow. That's what she's saying.